So welcome everyone to our first MediConsult Lifestyle webinar. It is my first too, so bear with me. I hope we don't have too many technical interruptions, but I'd like to welcome you, and for all of you for whom it is 9 o'clock at night tonight, congratulations that you have chosen to spend your evening with us. And what we're going to do is we are taking you through the basics of the iMRS, and even if you are a representative and you have experience with the iMRS, it will still be a good webinar for you because it will help you explain a lot of the things about the iMRS, hopefully in more simple terms, to those that you come in contact with. And for those of you who are a user of the iMRS, it will enlighten your life too. So like I said, we're going to go through the basics of, the iMRS and the iSLRS and the iMORE, and we're going to spend a little bit of time on the iMORE because there seems to be a little bit of confusion as to what it does and how it does certain things. So again, I like to welcome you. Maybe not everybody has managed to get on yet. In the world of technology, it's not always easy, right? And I'm here in Canada in my office. We are experiencing incredible heat waves. So I guess we're not all about snow in Canada either. Surprise! So you see to the very bottom of your screen at the right where you can type in questions. And I know you can see me, I can't see you. I'd love to see you, but I can't. And so when you type in the questions, after we've gone through the little webinar, we're going to take a lot of times for questions. And I'd like you to know that your questions, I will read them out loud for the benefit of everyone, but I will not give a name as to who asked that question. So I think this is wonderful because you can feel free to ask anything that you wish. And I also like to remind you, and if you want to write it down, of our next webinar, which is August the 8th, 2012, at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And it'll be 1 hour, including a Q&A. For today's, I have reserved a little bit more time, so you can actually take your time, and we can all take our time. And the next seminar, the title will be about what are PEMFs. And we learn how to talk to people, and we learn how to understand, how to explain PEMFs, and why everyone should own a PEMF system, and also to help you make your life easier in selling one, if that is what you do. And my guest will be at this time Hermina Danal from Denver, Colorado, who has an incredible amount of experiences and resources with the iMRS and PEMF systems. So again, I see there are some more people coming on. So welcome to all of you that you just managed to log in. I know sometimes technology is not our best friend. So when I start with a presentation, I will turn off the video so you can't see me anymore. And that's okay because we don't want you to be distracted. Okay? So I think we're going to start. And I'm going to turn off my camera. And for the newcomers that just tuned in, please feel free to write your question at the end of the presentation, and I will let you know when that is. And you can ask anything, and I will read your question out for the benefit of everyone, but it will not have your name with it. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's just go through the basics and the easiest way on how to use an iMRS system. The power button, the applicator button, the timer, the intensity, and the start button. And then here we have the organ clock, and we have the programmability for up to 3 people. We've been asked many times, and people don't understand what that is. You can program, and we'll get a little bit more into detail later. You can program the iMRS, person 1, person 2, person 3. So for, hang on a minute, my pointer, oh, here we go. See, I'm getting better. Sorry. You can program the device for up to 3 people in a household or in a facility. So it is always a good idea to operate and to think about operating your machine from the left to the right. Okay, that's a good one to remember. So now, oh, I think I'm getting the hang of it. So this is the back of the machine, and obviously your power bar, and here you have the 3 applicator plugins. It doesn't matter where you plug which applicator in. The machine already knows how to detect each one, and you can leave them plugged in all the time if you have your machine stationary. This is for the iMORE sensor, and that will only apply to you when you do have an iMORE. And then here for the iSLRS. And here's the funny part. It has little icons, and at the back of the machine, they're very small, and for older people sometimes, or even for people, you know, who have problems with vision, they're hard to detect. And then people have called us and they said, well, my iSLRS or my iMORE doesn't work, and somehow they switched it around thinking that it didn't matter how to plug them in, because that applies to the applicator. So, you know, try that out first and be guided by the icons, okay? So a little bit about the SD card. Again, the SD card is pushed in and not visible. So in this case, you know, it is partly inserted, so obviously your machine will not work. And sometimes what happens, you know, when people work with that machine and they bang into something, the SD card partially comes out. So if that happens and your machine doesn't work, always make sure the SD card is plugged in properly, as well as the applicators. If you take your SD card out, it will tell you what kind of model you have, whether you have an iMRS WellFit, complete, as in this case, or professional. So it will say here, and then in this line, it will tell you what options are programmed on your machine, whether the iSLRS is programmed or the iMORE. And another thing that I like to mention here, because usually iMRS users know each other, you cannot exchange SD cards between these machines, because every SD card is programmed to this particular device. So if you take your SD card that has an iSLRS option on it and you want to use it on your friend's machine, it will not work. Okay, so we're moving right along. And we have new applicators, as if you have an iMRS, they're not new to you. I just also want to point out that the technology is what's called a triple sawtooth profile, which is the same technology that NASA uses in their device that they have trademarked for the growth of human stem cells. And there are 2 coils in each section, and the intensity is increasing from the head area, which you should always place your head at the area where the cord comes out, because the intensities are not as strong as they are because they become increasingly stronger towards the area of your feet, meaning there are more copper coil windings at the lower extremities of your body. And the reason for that is actually very simple, because it replicates the magnetic field of the earth, and this is also how you would naturally walk on the earth. Now, the pillow has a square wave, and again with 2 copper coils, and it's a different wave pattern and used for different things than the whole body mat. Okay, I'm going quickly here. Also, to note, the probe now goes up to 300 microtesla at intensity 400, and it's coated with metal, which makes it very strong and durable. So now we're just going to go through a little bit, and again, I would also want to make sure that you know what all that is. So obviously here's the time, military time. So when you set the time, the machine will automatically know what time of the day it is. This noon, evening, morning, and night are the 4 different time sections that refer to the organ clock. The organ clock being replicating the Chinese organ clock, which states that certain organs are active at certain parts of the day, such as your liver, which would detoxify in the early morning hours. So the machine automatically knows what frequencies to use at the particular time of the day when you go on it. Here we have the South and the North Pole, which changes on its own every 2 minutes. And this section here refers to the HRV and heart rate variability in conjunction with the iMORE. And we're going to get a little further into it later, but this flashing heart is an indicator that your iMORE reads your heartbeat. The number 084 right here refers to your heart rate, your pulse, your heartbeat. So that means, in this case, the heart beats 84 times per minute. And this number varies, or may vary from 1 to 7, which is an indication of your heart rate variability. And that changes, and so does your pulse. Okay? So here we have the time. Okay, this is 26 minutes after 5 in the morning. So that's an early morning riser, I would say. He's using the whole body mat. You always see the icon and the intensity at 50. So we have sometimes questions about what is the intensity, and a lot of people, especially new people, confuse intensity with frequency. So the frequency is already predetermined by the sawtooth profile, and the frequency is also determined by the time of the day that you go on the machine, in this case noon. And like I said before, the machine already knows what frequencies to use at the particular time of the day. And the intensity is something very different. So let's look at frequency as something like a radio station, okay? Particular time of the day, you turn on your radio station, you listen to some tunes that are appropriate for this particular time of the day, and you resonate with those tunes. And the intensity would be how loud do your cells want to hear this radio station. And that is how I would like you to look at intensity. Okay, so we're moving right along. And so now we have all these other buttons, and the time, up and down, these are also called like elevator buttons. The intensity you can adjust. Start and stop button, I particularly like that because without it nothing would happen. Here you can manually override the organ clock. Now, for the everyday average user, that would not be too much of a concern. But for healthcare practitioners or shift workers, you know, they like to change the time of the day, which you can do with this button. And the program buttons P1 to P3, and we'll get into that a little later. Got a lot of slides to cover. And always the soft keys refer. Okay, we can make that connection. Option, this button, if you press it, you go into the option. If you press this button, you go into the program, programming the machine with P1, P2, P3. This is the setup, and this is with the professional unit, the iGuide. Not everybody has that on their machine. Okay, and we'll get into exactly why that is there and what purpose it serves and how to use it as well. So, on and off, most people know how to do this, and you can also change this and not show the contraindication under your setup. Okay, so then the next screen you will see when you start your machine, and this particular screen only shows for a very brief moment, and whatever has a check mark behind it, this is what your device is equipped with. This would be your very unique serial number, and this is the version. Now I have an older slide, so we're now at version 1.6, I believe, and serial numbers go up into the hundreds. Okay, so that was pretty simple. Operating ready to use, you know that. So now when you first receive your machine, or at any time, if you don't want to use the iSLRS, you can turn it on or turn it off at your desire. But at any time when you first get your machine, you have to go in under options. As you see here, you press the option button and you see that this particular device is equipped with the iSLRS and the iMORE. So whatever you want to select, you highlight and then you press enter. If you wanted to select the iMORE, you scroll down and you press enter, and you can turn on the iMORE, which again, upon first installation, it needs to be done. For the iSLRS, you have to set the headphones, you have to set the music, and you have to set the tones, and you have to set the glasses. And it takes you step by step. So, program, okay. Person 1, person 2, as you see here, person 3. So if you, sometimes that is very handy for older people, and you simply press the program button, and then you see this screen. And whichever person you want to be P1, P2, or P3, you highlight it, and it will take you, or it will prompt you to program all 3 applicators, meaning whole body mat, pillow, and probe, across all the 4 different organ clock time zones. And you can set the intensity, you can set the session time, and the default is always sensitive. So if you don't want to change anything, you just leave it at sensitive and it will take you to the next level. Yeah, try it out someday. And here under, if you want to change the volume, this is the volume. It does not refer to the iSLRS. It is the sound that the machine makes when it first comes on, and the options are, you know, between 1 and 100%. Most people have it set at 50 or 75, but you can change it. The clock You can always change the time, in particular when you travel and you go into a different time zone. And you can change the language. The options are English, French, and German. Okay, and again, you use these buttons below to scroll up and or down. You see the arrows. Okay, so, and here's how we set the time. Okay, if you want to set the clock, it starts out with the hour. And again, military time. You press enter when you got the right hour. It moves you to the minutes. You set the minutes, and again, you set it with the up and down arrows. And then you press enter, and then you press escape, and you're back to your screen. So that's simple, I hope. And you can always ask me questions later, of course. iGuide. Okay, again, if you have that option on your machine, you have a set of 300 conditions across all 4 applicators, across all 4 time zones of the organ clock. And you simply press the letter with which your condition starts. Okay, so in this case, and again, you scroll up or down, and the first letter when you enter the iGuide is the beginning of the alphabet. And under each condition, there are various others. Okay, so you just press enter. So here we pressed ear infection in this case, and we find all kinds of different conditions that start with an E. Then you press this condition. So now we pressed ear infection. Then it will prompt you to choose pillow, probe, or mat. Again, you highlighted it with the up and down arrow. You press enter, and voila. Oops, sorry. And you press enter. Maybe we're missing a slide, but it's okay. It would then come up with a screen. Okay, that looks, let me just go back a little. That looks like this. It would give you a preset time for this condition, for the applicator you have chosen, and a preset intensity. And when you press start, it will not say application running. It will give you the indication. So it would then say ear infection. So now you know you've used the iGuide and you've used the settings of the iGuide. So that was also very simple, I hope, for you. So now we're going to move into the iSLRS. And as you know, this month and next month we have a special where, irrespective of whether someone purchases the WellFit, the Complete, or the Professional, they receive an iSLRS, a value of $599, absolutely for free. So we're going to learn a little bit more about the iSLRS. So these are the component, the headset, and the glasses. And again, you know, you have to watch where you plug it in. And with it, you receive your SD card, which you have to plug in the machine. And you can leave it in there all the time, even if you don't have the iSLRS plugged in, because it has a duplication of what you already have on your machine, plus the iSLRS. Okay? So, what is a sound, light, relax system? It's brainwave stimulation, brainwave entrainment, and impulse activation application, which activates brainwaves to resonate with an external stimuli. So we do know that the brain, even though it has at any given time of the day is in a particular state, but we do know that the brain can be brought into a different state in response to an external stimuli, in this case sound, light, and that's what we do. So it contains delta, theta, alpha, beta, and very little gamma waves. And it is also very interesting that when you use the iSLRS with the whole body mat, it is synchronized with the organ clock of the iMRS. And with this combination of sound and light frequencies, it covers almost the entire resonance range of the brain wave pattern. So it's very, very powerful. So it's a three-way stimulation, okay? It's music, and it's audio frequency, and light, and color selection. So we can select different colors, and you will learn a little bit tonight about what these colors mean. So, and I mean, this is what it looks like when you have it on. Sometimes people struggle, how can I put it all on? If I had the iMORE, if I had the iSLRS, and if I have the headset. Sounds like a lot at once, but you will get used to. And you would first put the goggles on, and then your iMORE on your ear, and you would put the headset above the goggles. So that's the way to do it. So now, the colors, they all have a meaning. Like, for instance, red is not easily tolerated. In particular, if people have a strong sympathetic activity, they cannot tolerate red. So red, it gives you energy, and that's why, you know, sometimes for people, it's just too much. And don't forget the Sound Light Relax system, the glasses. Okay, they have a switch where you can switch the colors, and they also have a little button that you can turn where you can reduce the intensity of the light. So I would never use red or suggest to use red in the evening. In the morning, for some people, it's great because it increases the energy, vitality, determination. It gives you zest, self-esteem, promotes assertiveness, and the ability to deal with and overcome adversity. So it also stands for courage and power. So if you're not a very strong, sympathetic person, then you might want to give it a try. Green, I love green. I love it in the daytime, sometimes in the morning. It is optimistic. It improves overall well-being. It promotes inner peace, relaxation. It's harmonious. It releases your creative juices, and it's a sign of reconciliation, comfort, charity, calmness, endurance, growth. So to me, this is just what I love. And most people, if not all, can easily tolerate green. Blue is loyalty and devotion. It strengthens the spirit. It's calming. It helps you be alert, persistent. It promotes energy, balance, communication, and the understanding of others. And there are no side effects or intolerances towards blue. So I like that in the evening, and I love to use green throughout the day, and sometimes red in the morning, but like I said, not for everyone. So all these colors, you know, have a specific meaning, and I always feel that I just go with my gut, what I feel like, what color would please me right now, because, you know, your body and your gut instincts know what's good for you. Okay, and now a little bit before we get into the iMORE, a little bit more about the iSLRS. For how long should you use it? How should you start out? How often can you use it? Usually Well, there are always exceptions, but in general, I just like to give you some general guidance. When you use it for the first time, sometimes people love it, sometimes they hate it, and that just means that for some of us, it takes a little bit of getting used to. And how you do that is by starting out. Let's say you do an 8-minute session in the morning and you want to try red. So maybe after 4 minutes, you may just use it for 4 minutes, just simply to get used to. Or if you use green in the morning, you go for the whole 8 minutes. Or if you want to use 16, if your session is usually 16 minutes in the morning, then you might want to use it at 8. Just to get used to, and maybe take about 4 to 8 days to gradually build up so that you use it twice a day. Okay, and as to what it does and how it helps with certain things, well, that requires another session actually, and we will do that too. Whatever you want, you can. I like to also invite you to email suggestions, and my email is Allie, it's ALLIE at MediConsult.ca, like what you would like to see improved, what you need, how to help you use the machine, how to help you to do your business, and we would really like to be there to help you. And some people would like to have a more intense sound, light, relax system, iSLRS session, and we can do that, no problem. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the iMORE, Interactive Monitoring and Regulating System. So basically, the iMORE, through an optical sensor, can listen to your body and take readings to provide an answer. Like biofeedback. And the iMORE is about self-regulating. So constant conservation of an internal condition throughout adjustment. And simple examples are, we want to, homeostasis is also called balance, okay? And your heart rate variability, which is what we're getting into, okay, is there to balance your body or create homeostasis in your body. It can balance the body temperature. If you have a very flexible heart rate variability, then your body is much better able to balance blood sugar levels, pH levels. And also, here's what happens, because we suffer a lot from homeostatic interferences, which are target conditions that we want to have in the body, but they're out of balance, like blood sugar levels, like pH levels, and so forth. So, and also our body's ability to balance itself decreases as we age. And lack of regulation and balance also, when we lack those things, we're increasing our risk of disease, and the ability to maintain health and regeneration becomes impaired. So, and this is what happens when our homeostasis is interfered with. Blood sugar levels are out of whack. We can develop diabetes, hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, cardiac arrhythm, sudden heart death, insomnia, dehydration, stress. Every disease with an underlying toxic or infectious cause. So a lot of times that is overlooked. For instance, when somebody doesn't sleep well, that maybe the body is simply not able to create homeostasis. Okay, and hence the importance of using the iMORE. Okay, and with the iMORE, we are concerned with the heart rate variability. And the heart rate variability and the heart rate are two different things. Even though we require your heart rate to determine and improve the heart rate variability, I will try to make it as simple as I can, okay? And this has all to do with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, okay, which needs to be in balance to regulate your body. So now let's get through a little bit of what is heart rate variability. It's a constant measure which gauges the intervals between individual heartbeats. So for instance, if your heart rate or your pulse is 70, that means your heart beats 70 times per minute. And in between each heartbeat, there is a break. And the heart rate variability is concerned with the breaks in between your heartbeats. So, heart rate variability basically describes how flexible and adaptable a heart beats, how good or bad our vegetative nervous system can regulate itself. Now, this is medically measurable by the intervals or the breaks that I just mentioned in between the heartbeats. Now, this slide shows the exact heartbeat, okay, recorded on an ECG. So we can't give you an ECG for your house. I'm just getting explaining to you how it is measured in the medical field, because it's a very important measurement in traditional medicine as well. They just measure it with an ECG, and I'm sure you've had one. So, and in an ECG, you can actually see that each heartbeat consists of various waves, not just one. Okay, we think a heartbeat is a heartbeat. In fact, you can break it down in various single waves, which are called P, Q, R, and T waves. Okay, you can see them here. So each heartbeat is broken down in these different waves. So, and because of that, from an ECG, it is very easy to measure your heart rate variability, because it's the distance between the peaks, and these are the peaks here, as you can see, of two successive heartbeats. Okay, we've got, let's say, take this one and this one. So these are the peaks. That's the second peak. This is the first peak. So the ECG then can determine the interval between the R wave, the first peak, and the second peak. So this was a little bit out of traditional medicine, and now we'll get into how does the iMORE do this. Okay, and I'm going to try and make it as simple as I can, because now you already understand that we're concerned between the breaks between your heartbeat. Okay, this is just like in traditional medicine. We just have a different way of calculating it, because it makes no sense to have an ECG at home. It's not doable. So we see that the R peak value can only be recorded and defined for a very brief moment. with one diode applied directly to the heart. For home use, that is not possible. Okay, so there are other recognized methods through which we can calculate the heart rate variability. And one is done, which is a method called a histogram. And that is what we use in the iMRS. So the histogram itself is actually built into the machine. So we first measure the heartbeat, and in our case we measure your pulse, and this is done through a light sensitive optical sensor, as you can see here. So it's also called it's an infrared light and a photocell. Okay. So in this case, the blood flow is measured with the help of a light reflection through which the pulse rate is calculated. And once the pulse rate is calculated, the iMRS can write a curve just like you would see in an ECG through an internal processor. And if we measure a certain number of beats in succession, we can obtain a histogram. So it needs a number of beats to write a histogram. So the iMORE does its calculation through the much easier to detect T waves, as you see here, right? In particular, with the distance between those intersections. Okay, so we've got one here, we've got one there. You see here's a shorter one, there is a longer one, meaning, okay, if this was a heartbeat here, the break between this heartbeat and this heartbeat would be a lot longer than between this heartbeat and this heartbeat. Okay, and we can see that if I move to the next slide now. Okay, we can see this a little bit clearer. So the histogram that is written inside of the machine compares the distance between the first intersection of the T waves with the R waves. Okay, and this is how we can compute this. If the distance of the interval during a reading difference between T1, T2, and then here the next one would be T3. Okay, if the difference between these T waves is bearable, we speak of a good flexible heart rate. If the distance are almost identical, then your heart rate variability is weak, and therefore it restricts your body to create homeostasis or balance. And so now we'll go to the next slide, and you can, when we start, I'll get a little bit more into when I show you the analysis of when you, at the end of your session with the iMORE, you have an analysis, right? So here, okay, this is what the optical sensor or your earpiece senses. So when you start your session, see, here's the session is only like 5 seconds. She started at 25 on the whole body mat, okay, and by the way, the iMORE only works with a whole body mat because it needs the measurement from the whole body, right? And so we're only 5 seconds into the session, so it's still scanning, okay? So it takes 60 to 90 seconds on average, sometimes even 2 minutes, to get a reading, meaning the first reading, okay? And once it has the first reading, it needs a reading of your second heartbeat because it needs a measurement to define the breaks in between your first and your second heartbeat. Okay, so now about 90 seconds into the session. Now we are at 14 minutes and 33 seconds. So now we see that little heart. We see 087. I hope you can see this. And so now her heartbeat is 87, and beside it we see a question mark because it's scanning for the second value and the second heartbeat, right? So eventually where you see the question mark, there will be a number. It is also, I want to make sure that, because we sometimes have people that have seem to think that they have a problem with the iMORE, and it makes them feel like it doesn't work. So what is very important that you have a clean earlobe, and clean means, you know how our skin accumulates oils, you know, throughout the course of the day. So if you just wipe your earlobe a little bit, and also the inner surface of the sensor with alcohol, right, to make sure it's clean and it can read and have a contact. And the sensor cannot just be at the edge of your earlobe, it has to be right over the surface of your earlobe. And also, it is advisable that you rub your ear a little bit before you clip on the sensor, because you want to increase a little bit the blood circulation to get a better reading. And another important thing, and we forget that quite often, is because it is an optical sensor and it responds to light, it shouldn't be used when you're exposed to direct light. You know, like for instance, people use their machine all day, and then sometimes they take it with them upstairs to their bed and they have a bright reading light shining on their ear while they're lying there. So it should be, it can be good daylight, but it shouldn't be bright sunlight, or it shouldn't be a bright light reflecting on your ear on the sensor. It's also very important, right? And now and this is basically what the iMORE does. It will take about 20 seconds until the sensor even picks up the signal and the measurement can start. And as long as there has been no HRV, heart rate variability, established, you will see the question mark. Now, it's also important, the more relaxed you are and the weaker the light around you is, the more accurate and faster the HRV can be calculated. In some cases, like I said, it can take up to 2 minutes, okay? For instance, in people with arrhythmia, it may take even longer because the iMORE must suppress extra systoles, which is already accounted for in the system, right? So don't, you know, and not every measurement will be the same, right? So now on this screen we see the heart rate variability is 3. So she has a heartbeat of 84, so that means she has 83 breaks, and her heart rate variability is 3 at this particular measurement. That's the first measurement, or the first detection it made. So now let's look at a 24-minute session, what we can read, you know. And again, the more flexible, the better your body is able to regulate itself. So we want to have a very flexible heart rate variability. We want to aim for that, and you know, so each application and each session with the iMORE, we want to continuously improve the heart rate variability. And ideally, we would like to use the entire intensity range from sensitive to 400, which is possible with the 2.0 version of the iMORE. And because it measures from 1 to 7, right? And so now let's look at this. So in this case, okay, I mean, a lot of people ask, what does it mean? What is it? How do I read this? So at the bottom, 0, 6, 12, 18, 24, okay, this is the amount of minutes you have been on this machine, okay? If you were 16 minutes on, this would not be a 24, it would show 16. If you were 8 minutes on this machine, it would show 8. And here we have from level 1 to 7, okay? And in between is 2, in between here is 4, and here's 5. Okay, there just wasn't enough room on the screen to put all these numbers in, but I think you get the drift. And on the right side, we see the intensities: sensitive, 10, 25, 50, 100, 150, 200. All right, so here we can say 2, 4, 6, and so forth minutes. So after it took about 2 minutes, in this case, to detect the first reading, okay, because we need 2 benchmarks. So this is the first benchmark. And then the heart rate variability was 3, as you see here, okay. The blue line refers to the heart rate variability, the fine blue line. The white field refers to the intensity. So if we follow this across here, now the intensity went up to 50 in this case. And then here is the point where we got the second reading, the second benchmark. Okay, then the intensity, because the heart rate variability dropped down, I'm going to go across here from 3 to 2, and here's the exciting part. If I go across, it dropped down to 25. Okay, so it automatically adjusts the intensity. It either increases or decreases in accordance to what it reads, but what your heart rate variability is. So if we take it further, okay, after very brief, it went up to 3 again, and the intensity went back up to 50. So then the next benchmark, it went up to 4 heart rate variability, and the intensity went up to 100. Then it dropped down again to 50, so did the heart rate variability. It dropped down again to 3. Then it went back up. It dropped down. It went back up. It dropped down. And at the very last minute, it went down to 2. And the intensity dropped down to 10. So this is the first graph. Okay, so now on the second graph, what you see, in the first 2 minutes, nothing. Then the heart rate variability increased to 3. And the intensity stayed the same because it just needs the second benchmark. You know, people say, like, why is this white line in the blue line now? Well, because remember we said it just needs 2 benchmarks to start the reading. And then accordingly, here, after the heart rate variability is at 3, and you can see drop down to 2, and the intensity dropped with it. Now it's important to know, you know, that you always need a starting intensity, okay? Because in this case, for the first 2 minutes, this person started with intensity 25. See that here? For 2 minutes. If they would have started with 50, that would have looked a little bit different, because you always need a starting intensity. Like, some people think that, you know, when I have the iMORE, I don't have to worry about intensity anymore. This is correct, but you need a starting intensity, and which you either use by, you know, following our standard rule when you start out using an iMRS, 8 minutes in the morning at 25 and 8 minutes at night at 10. So that could be your starting. Also, if you have an iGuide, you can go into the iGuide, like I explained to you before, and you can select the intensity according to your condition. And then when you use the iMORE, then the iMORE takes control and it adjusts the intensity, okay? Because the goal of the iMORE is, after you have chosen a starting point of intensity, it is a regulating and monitoring system. So it regulates and monitors your heart rate variability by adjusting the intensity up or down. And the feature with the new iMORE is that the body is being exposed to an entire range from sensitive to 400. Like, it can happen that throughout the session, even though you start at 50, that it can go up to 400, and then it can drop down again. And this is how you improve your heart rate variability. You make your heart rate variability more flexible. So the more, what it means, if this, for instance, would be white all across, that would be a very, very low heart rate variability, because the heart rate variability appears to be very constant, okay? And here we see that even for the first minute in the session, it's very constant, and then after 4 minutes, it goes up and it goes up. So this is what you like to see. You like to see an up and a down and an up and a down, and, you know, almost like a city with different heights of building. So the more variation you find, the better your heart rate variability is. And for a lot of people, it actually improves the longer they are on the iMRS using the iMORE. Okay, so I think we came to the end of covering the basics. And now, if you have questions, if you want to type them, then I can see them. Okay, and you just type them in the bottom of your screen, and I will be happy to answer them. All right, hang on, let me see here. I have to go down here, just bear with me. Okay, so we have one question. Let's hear. And the question is, can I use the iSLRS with the pillow or the probe? Yes, you can, but you don't have the same effect, okay? Because you are not using the full spectrum of the frequencies, but you can, okay? All right, somebody said, thank you very much, Ali. Welcome anytime. Okay, any more questions? I'm looking here. Okay. Feel free to type in. I'm going to scroll down the screen. I have to figure this out too myself. Okay. Okay. The question was, for those of us with a system, meaning when you already own an iMRS, but we don't have an iSLRS, is there a better price for us than the $599? If you are a customer, no, because that is the price. But if you are a representative, then don't forget, if you're anywhere, depending on what level you are, you get 20 or 30% commission on that as well, right? So keep that in mind. So that's pretty good, okay? Okay. The next question, I still can't understand what it means when the HRV and the intensity differ. Okay. Okay, what it means is, maybe I can think of an easier way, if there is such a thing, to explain that. By using the iMORE, we get different measures, different benchmarks of the breaks in between your heartbeats. And when, let's say, your heart rate variability after the first reading is 2 and you started out with the intensity of 20, so then the next reading will be a 3, right? Then the intensity will go up to 50. So the intensity goes up, increases or decreases every 2 minutes in relation to what the iMORE detects about the level of your heart rate variability. Okay, and you see that, you know, because it writes a histogram inside, like it reads from your body. It uses your heart rate to determine your heart rate variability. Okay, and you could almost say that, you know, these are the breaks in between each one of your heart rate break, and it measures the variability or the flexibility of the breaks in between your heartbeats. And the more flexible they are, okay, let's say you have 50, your heartbeat is 50, you have 48 breaks, and if each of those breaks would have the same distance, you would have a very, very flat heart rate variability. You would not have a flexible heart rate variability. And what that means is, when your heart rate variability isn't very flexible, you open up yourself and to the body's inability to create balance and homeostasis. So sometimes I explain it also let's say one of you has a very low heart rate variability or very steady breaks, and let's say somebody else has a very flexible heart rate variability. And let's say you and I are in a car accident or in an almost car accident, and if I have a very flexible heart rate variability, that means the graph here would show up and down, and I would go, when I'm on the machine, it would go over the entire range. And the other person would have a very low heart rate variability, so that would be very steady across. My body would be in a much better position, or my nervous system would be in a much better position to balance, neutralize itself and deal with this versus somebody else's. So, you know, my body would experience a lot less stress than somebody who has a low heart rate variability or a constant heart rate variability. Okay, and that is why using the iMORE and the exposure to different intensities will help improve your heart rate variability. I hope I answered that. So I got another question here. Okay, this one, yeah, there was a question as to when the reps have to renew their membership. Just please send an email to info@MediConsult. Okay, we're not doing that part tonight. Okay, info@mediconsult.ca. Okay, but it is at your anniversary date. So from the date that you joined, 1 year later, it will be up for renewal and you will receive a notice. Okay. Next question was, if I buy a WellFit, how do I upgrade? Okay, everybody knows a WellFit. 3,250 includes the whole body mat and the pillow, but no probe. So if you want to upgrade from you can upgrade from a WellFit to a complete, and you would have to buy the probe and you would have to buy the upgrade SD card at $199. If you want to upgrade from the complete to the professional unit, again, you have to purchase for $199 the upgrade SD card as well as the iGuide, which is $799. Okay, so you can do that. Okay, I hope I answered those questions to your satisfaction. If not, keep asking. Okay. I gave us an extra half an hour. Okay, there was another question. Is the iMORE intensity line always higher than the HRV? No, not necessarily. Okay, the intensity in this case, you know, it can be below the HRV line, as we see on this slide. I hope you still all see the slides, right? So you see here the fine white line, that is the heart rate variability. And in this case, the intensity line is below the heart rate variability line, okay? Because this is the heart rate variability in this case here is at 2, okay? But the intensity dropped down to 10, okay? Because as the heart rate variability dropped from 3 to 2, the intensity dropped 1 level to 10 in this case, because the starting intensity was 25. Okay, so it's the iMORE intensity line is not always higher. In particular, as you see here in the first 2 minutes when it's reading, right? And if I go back to the previous slide, which I can do, okay. So here, in the iMORE line, actually the answer would be yes, but not while it takes the measurements in the first few minutes, right? And depending on your starting position as well, right? So in the first 2 minutes, in this case, it is higher, the intensity line. And in this section here, the HRV line is higher than the intensity line, okay? So I hope that helps. We have a little bit more time. I think I said an hour and a half, just in case there were a lot of questions. And I still have some more here. And if any of you would like to, I've got, what if my iMORE doesn't work? I think I did answer that you know, it is technology. Something can always go wrong. But before you panic and send it back, again, make sure that the sensor is clean. And yes, you can use alcohol on it. Also make sure that your ear is clean and that you rub your ear a little bit. And that while you're on the mat, you're relaxed and you're not exposed to too much light. Okay, and then and sometimes, you know, I had somebody, this whole line here was all the way across flat, and it was so for a number of sessions, and we thought that, you know, maybe the iMORE doesn't work. But as it turned out, you know, she always started using it at 10 because she felt good with it. So then we upped the intensity, the starting intensity. Remember, I said you always need that. And so we increased the starting intensity, and then we had some slight improvement and slight variation. So in her case, it didn't appear to be the iMORE, just that she had a very low heart rate variability. So her breaks, her distances between the breaks and between her heartbeats were not flexible, right? They were more or less the same. Okay. Any more questions? Feel free. I guess not. I had somebody ask one more question. Can I use the pad and the map at the same time? No, it will not work, and it wouldn't be of any benefit, because we have two different weight patterns. We have the triple sawtooth profile on the whole body mat, and we have the square wave on the pillow. So we're using the whole body mat to activate every cell in the body, right? And we're getting a little bit more into that with Hermina on August the 8th. And, you know, then think of all kinds of questions that you may have at that time. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And again, if you still have any questions, we're open still for questions. And other than that, yeah, you're all welcome. And yeah, the question was, is this presentation recorded? Yes, I believe it has been recorded, and I think I'll have to find out how we can get this recording, and it will be on our homepage. Okay, I'd like to say a little bit about our website as well. It appears that it is a little bit underutilized, and maybe some people find it hard to find something, or you know, also what happens when we don't go regular on a website, then we don't find our way around. So the power of a website, not just our website, any corporate website, or any website that has like tutorials, videos, and things like that. The power lies within using it on a regular basis, and it becomes second nature. There's so much information on our website. There is a wonderful video about that Wolfgang did, and it's on intelligent-wellness.com, and he did it on the iMORE 2.0, and he probably even does a better job explaining it than I do, because I just like to do it in as simple as I can so that everybody can understand it. And I really encourage you to go to our website and read about it. Also, I'm not sure whether you are all familiar with the website www.pemf.com. It has a lot of information about heart rate variability. It also has a lot of information about the magnetic field of the Earth, about PMFs. It also has, still under videos, the Dr. Oz video, which is extremely helpful. And you know, even as a representative, you know, if you like to utilize the Dr. Oz video, it's an amazing presentation to any new prospective iMRS users. So just send them to pemf.com. Okay, there's another question. What conditions would apply for intensity over 200? I think I understand the question, but I'm not sure. If it means, like, if the question was meant to be, when would you use intensity higher than 200? I think this is what the question should be, or is. Okay, there are a number of reasons when you would use 400, in particular, pillow and probe for acute conditions. So let's just look at an example. And I'm talking now about the pillow and the probe, and I will answer the question about the whole body mat as well, when you could or would use it. So the pillow and the probe you would use for acute conditions. So an acute condition would be as simple as I go down the stairs and I fall and I injure my hip. So I would immediately use the pillow at 400 as often as I get a chance, right? Because I'm having an acute condition. If I injured my elbow, I would either use the pillow or the probe inside of my elbow at 400. So for acute conditions, 400 would apply. As for the whole body mat, when would you use 400? There are, if you're an athlete and you prepare for your big day, athletes, you know, have a different metabolism to begin with altogether, so they would probably use 400 to get a lot of energy before their big day or any performance. And another way in which 400 would be utilized, as we go through, I'm going back, I take you back to the screen of the iMORE. So if I use the iMORE, and I go on the whole body mat tomorrow morning, and I usually use 100 in the morning, and then the iMORE would detect that my heart rate variability is at 3, right here with the, let's say this would be 3, and then the second reading would be up to 5, okay, then the intensity would go up already to 200, it would jump. And then if the next reading was my heart rate variability is at 6 or 7, it would jump up to 400. Okay, so depending on your starting condition, the iMORE would also utilize 400 on the whole body mat. Mind you, not for an entire session as you would with a probe or the pillow, but over the course of a 8, 12, or 16 or whatever minute session time on the whole body mat, it might well do that. You know, when you go up to, in that case, to 6 or 7, or if I started 200, my morning session on the whole body mat, it would also go up to 400 as soon as my heart rate variability will go up. Okay, so I hope we answered that so that you can understand. There's also in the back office, it's called Wolfe's Law. It is in your back office, or if you're not a representative, and then you would get it from your representative, and this is called Wolfe's Law, and you find it under in the download center or under forms in your back office after you log into our MediConsult.tv website. And it also explains that for the lower parts of your body, like lower extremities, like knees, thighs, the foot, and so forth, if you have injuries, you would also be able to use 400 on the pillow and the probe. Okay? So, do we have any more questions? Okay. No, I don't have any either. Okay. Well, my friends, it was certainly fun, and I hope I could help you. Okay, there was one question about a particular, it was about lupus. I'm not sure whether you have Dr. Carmichael's book. And lupus, I would use 25 intensity. If it's a younger person, 50 in the morning on the whole body mat, but no more than that. If you just start this person out at 25, and I would use 8 minutes at 10 in the evening. Okay, and if that person has an iMORE, that's why I love the iMORE, right? I mean, I love it all. I like the iSLRS, I love the iMORE, but I like the iMORE if we can just put it in very, very simple terms. I mean, we went through everything on what it does and how it helps improve our heart rate variability, giving us a more flexible heart rate variability, you know, which makes our entire system stronger. And when you have the iMORE, you just need a starting intensity, and the iMORE takes care of the rest. Okay, it exposes your body to a number of different intensities over the course of a session, and that is amazing, right? But lupus and any most autoimmune disorders, you would start out the person at 25 in the morning and then maybe slightly increasing to 50 over a shorter period of time. And you would use intensity 10 at night. Okay, so I hope that answered the next question. So any more questions that we have? Okay. All right. So no more questions. So we plan to have this for an hour. So we went a little more than that, which is great. And so, like I said to you, for those who came in at a later point, we're happy to have an iMRS, and we enjoy it in this heat in Canada. Oh, there was a Dr. Carmichael's book here. Okay, could you send me an email, or could you bring it up on August the 8th? Because Hermina Denial, okay, she is in charge of this book, and she looks after that with Dr. Carmichael. And I'm not sure how many are available or when they will be again, but if you ask her on August the 8th, okay, she will give you this information. Other than that, if you like to send me an email at ally@mediconsult.ca, I will forward your email for a book requesting Dr. Carmichael's book to Hermina. Okay? Wonderful. So I had, somebody made a fabulous comment that the iSLRS helped this person to focus and get rid of depression. You bet you. Okay, you can say that, and it is wonderful that I can share this with everybody. Yeah, because, like when we started out talking about the iSLRS, we were talking about how a brain responds to an external stimuli, and the brain state can change, right? And the iSLRS, together with a whole body mat, is wonderful in rebuilding focus and helping with depression, because when you are depressed, you lose your focus. They sort of go hand in hand. And a lot of people today, okay, will or experience depression, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And I'm always excited when people reach out and use an iMORE or use an iSLRS and use the iMRS for their conditions and for their problems before they reach to pills. So I'm always happy if I can make a difference in somebody's life. It thrills me. Okay, you're all welcome. I love to do this on a regular basis, and it's not only for reps. You can invite customers. You can invite the next time, when you have that link for the next workshop, invite people, even those who do not have an iMRS, to help them learn, because the next one will be very exciting, because we're going to explain, we'll help you understand what PEMFs really are, right? And why one should own one. And that will not also only help you in selling, it will also help you in explaining, getting a bit better understanding, okay, how we can talk about it, because for a lot of us, it seems to be very difficult, what are PMFs? What do they do, right? And So we're going to do that on August the 8th, and I know Hermina is also very exciting. There was one question, when will we be able to see the recording? I'm not sure how we see it. Yeah, probably with the slideshow, and it will be on our website. I can't exactly say when, but when we did our first one with a matcha tea, I'm not sure how many of you were on that matcha webinar. How many of you are drinking matcha tea? See, I can talk all night now because I had my matcha tea today. So the going is good for me. It's a wonderful product, and so when we did or Wolfgang did that, the matcha seminar, I think it was up in a few days, because it is recorded right now as we speak, and it's recorded on this website, on this media, so it shouldn't be very long. Okay, just keep on going to MediConsult.tv, and maybe we'll send out a newsletter so that people who missed it also have the benefit of listening to it. So I'm very excited. I'm actually a little bit proud of myself that I'm not always that good at it. But anyway, here we are, an hour and a half later. We had a great time, and I enjoyed a lot of these questions. And I look forward to the next one that Hermina will share with me. And yeah, bring lots more people. We have more room for a lot of people. This workshop holds up to 500 people, so we can invite the world. All right, so thank you for joining, and I look forward to your feedback, even if it's criticism. That's wonderful. You know, anything to help us improve and help you along the way. Okay, thank you, and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.